What's up, guys? So some of my real long-term subscribers, I'm talking like 8-9 years ago, may remember some of the videos I made of my old 12-foot welded aluminum boat. Well, the boat has sat for, 6 years just in disrepair in my backyard, getting weathered, kind of falling apart. About 6 months ago, I got the bug to go ahead and get it rebuilt and get it back on the water. It's been a long process. It's taken me quite a bit of work just tinkering here and there, but I'm really happy with the progress. So I'm gonna go through today and just kind of show you guys all the modifications I've done to it to get it to where it is. Still have some work to do, but those projects have come along. But just so you know what it is, it's a 1980 Gregor welded aluminum boat. They're made in California. I still think they make boats today, but I'm not really sure. It's 12 foot wide, about 12 foot long, about 5 foot wide in the back. All welded aluminum. And it's a pretty cool little boat. It runs the creeks and stuff around here just awesome. But one of the problems I always had with it was really underpowered. I had a little 6-horse Evinrude on it. It wouldn't push the boat. Maybe 9 miles an hour, just me in it. You put another person in it, you're running like 7 miles an hour. Couldn't get up on a plane, all that kind of stuff. So we'll go through today and show you all the stuff I've done and go from there. So I'll roll in a few pictures here of what the boat looked like before I got started, and then some of the process of going through and rebuilding the decks and everything in it and redoing the benches. I've added a little bit to it, but it's kind of the configuration I always wanted. I never really had it when it was up and going before, but I added this deck up here, and then a recess for the trolling motor pedal. I always had a platform up here, but it was just a piece of plywood. So now I got a piece of plywood. I got it mounted. I got some bracing up underneath to kind of keep it nice and steady. So the trolling motor will get mounted up here. Obviously the pedal will go there. I had it all pigtailed and wired and ready to go. I rebuilt all the benches, put a subfloor in it. I didn't have this before, if y'all can see that or not. Didn't have the subfloor in here before. So anytime you would drop something in the boat, it made a big loud clank. Having kids move around in the boat and stuff is kind of a pain. So I put this in here. Everything that's on the bottom, so this piece and then the little compartments I built inside, I'll show you in a second, are made out of marine grade plywood. And then I went through and used the waterproofing membrane that I had left over from a shower project that I did here at the house, a tile project. So I figured that'll hold up for a good while. And then the top of the benches and the platform and the piece up there are all 3/4 just treated plywood with some carpet on them. So nothing super special, but I think it works out pretty good. So guys, whenever you're working with a boat this small, obviously you're gonna have to make some compromises. The way it was set up before, I would almost spend the entire day standing on a little like 2 foot by 2 foot section, and where my trolling motor pedal was mounted, it was up flush on the surface, so you spend the whole day like Captain Morgan with one leg in the air. By the end of the day, my back would hurt and it was just uncomfortable. So when I rebuilt this, I wanted to make sure I would maximize my amount of deck space so I could fish all day and be comfortable. So in doing that, I had to figure out what to do with the second seat. Obviously it's a tiller steer boat, so I have to have this seat here for driving it, but I put the second seat back here on the bench. Now, obviously it's not ideal for weight distribution, especially if you get 2 grown men in here. It's not gonna be balanced all that well. But I wanted to maximize my amount of fishing room. So Millennial tree stands, I guess, and they make boat seats as well. They make a really nice seat, and then you can buy a mount. I think it's off Amazon. They're kind of made to go over like a John boat bench seat. But it's a real stable seating platform. They're really comfortable, and they fold up. So it's a really good option to be able to eventually pick one of those up and mount it up here on the front. Or not even mount it, just set it up here on the front. So if you get 2 guys in the boat and you're running down the creek or across the lake, you can move a guy forward and just distribute the weight a little bit better. So I'm real happy with the amount of deck space I have here on the boat. Being able to move around and do stuff like that, it's going to make fishing out of it a lot more comfortable. Having the recessed trolling motor pedal It's going to make it really comfortable for fishing. I got a 45-pound thrust, 36-inch shaft, Minn Kota Edge on order. It was like nationally back ordered, but I got it for a pretty good price. So as soon as it comes in, I'll be able to hook that up and get the boat out. I'm going to go through and open up all the compartments and show you the wiring that I've done, and some of the little storage solutions I came up with, and just kind of give you the rundown. So we'll start here at the back of the boat and work our way forward. I picked up this 15 horsepower Mercury from a guy here locally. It's a 94 model. He said he couldn't get it running because it didn't have spark. Did a compression test on it. It's got 120 psi on both cylinders. Lower unit's in great shape. So brought it home, did some testing on it. Turns out the stator wasn't bad, but it was the resistance readings were off quite a bit. So I'm pretty sure it took out the switch box. So I put a new stator in it, got a new switch box on order, put some coils in it, new plug wires, spark plugs, put a new water pump kit in it, pulled the carburetor off and pulled the ball off on to see the condition of the carburetor. The guy I got it from said he put a carburetor kit in it. Well, evidently he forgot to put the float needle in the carburetor, so I got to pick up the carburetor kit for it. But once I have it up and running, it's going to be, I think, the perfect motor for this boat. This series of Mercury 15 horsepowers, they sold 1 million of them. They're a good, reliable motor, and I think they're like the best bang for the buck you can get. You know, the new 15 horsepower 4-strokes are almost twice the weight of these. They're better for the environment. They're quieter and whatnot, but for bang for the buck, a 15 horsepower 2-stroke on the back of this 12-foot boat ought to push it down the creek 15, maybe even 20 miles an hour. We'll see. So I got that, pretty happy with it. I'll show you what I got going on here in the back. All right, so basically back here is pretty basic, guys. I left the bottom of the boat exposed back here just for when it gets water in it and whatnot. I went through probably 6 years ago and I replaced the transom, just had some rotted little plywood, put a piece of 2x12 in here, and might be 2x10, whatever. But treated 2x10, routed it all to fit, had to cut the braces out. Please don't judge my aluminum welding. I did that with a spool, old spool gun. So I mean, it's held up. But got all that put back together, painted everything in here. I put new carpet in the boat, redid, it had carpet in the sides, so I went ahead and redid that with just some indoor-outdoor carpet from Lowe's. Pretty cheap stuff, like 50 cents a square foot. I installed a bilge pump. I don't have a float switch on it, but be able to just look in the back of the boat. If you got to turn the bilge pump on, just turn it on. So I got it wired up. So pretty straightforward back here. You know, obviously installed the new anchor light mount, reinstalled, I got just a rod holder right there. Y'all probably can't see it, but just a standard little rod holder in the back. One of the things I was kind of wondering what I was going to do is how I was going to get all the wiring across the boat. Man, just down and dirty, I dug through my shed, found an old piece of 3/4 Schedule 40 PVC, and so all my wirings ran through that piece of PVC. Keeps it up, keeps it out of the sunlight, keeps it dry. So that's that. As we'll go, I'll show you, I put some like courtesy lights in here. I got one of them mounted in here, a little LED strip, so it lights up the back of the boat, and I got some more up through the boat. So next I'll show you what's in this compartment here. Pretty simple, this compartment, guys. I got this stainless steel latch on here. Again, 3/4 treated plywood. This is where I mounted the fuel tank. 3-gallon fuel tank. It was great for my 6 horse. We'll see if it's enough for the 15 horse, but you know, we'll see. Again, this little compartment, they just slide down in here. 1/2-inch marine grade plywood with that waterproofing membrane spot to keep, you know, tarp, paddle, my life jacket in there, some, you know, retrieval rope and little stuff like that. So pretty simple in this compartment. I'll show you the next one. Alright guys, so here in the footwell, pretty simple. Again, 1/2-inch marine plywood with that waterproofing membrane on it and some carpet. I installed this cheap little switch panel from Amazon. It's got a cigarette lighter, a couple of USB ports. I got my bilge pump, my anchor lights, my spotlights, and my courtesy lights wired into it. Pretty neat little product. It's its own power supply. I ended up running a fuse block for all these circuits before I ordered the switch, and this is your power comes in, it's fused and everything, so I didn't even have to do that. So now I got an extra 5-slot fuse box if I ever need to add any more accessories to the boat. Installed the ram mount in here. This is actually one off my motorcycle, but kind of switches back and forth. But it's cool, man. I can run my phone right here. I can run my navigation. I can check my speed, weather, all that stuff right here. Keep the phone charged. I was thinking about putting some tunes in the boat, installing like a single DIN marine grade radio and put some speakers in it, but I ended up picking up this little Bluetooth speaker. Man, it sounds good enough, puts off plenty of sound, so that's kind of what my plan is for the music. So this next compartment here, to try to keep this seam good and tight, this compartment only opens about 3/4 of the way. So when you're out and about and need to get something out of there, you can open it up, but that's about as far as it goes, which is plenty of room to get in there. But if you really want to open up all the way, this part screws up, a little stick that holds it up, and then this opens up all the way. That's really the best solution I come up with to make that seam good and tight. Built this real quick little box to kind of protect all the wiring in the back of the fuse panel. Again, all the wiring's come out of this piece of PVC. This is where I'll store all my tackle and that kind of stuff. Got a little cutting board in there, my anchor light. I'll live in there. I'm gonna get one of those little mounts for it to sit in, keep it up off the bottom towel. Again, 1/2" marine grade plywood coated with that waterproofing membrane, stainless steel piano hinge. The bench is 3/4 plywood. Pretty simple stuff, guys. Not a whole lot to it. I am happy with these latches, but then part of it I'm not, because they kind of stick out a little bit, and I can see myself getting, bashing a shin or something in one of those. So may end up doing something different with these at some point, but for now they work pretty good, and I can lock them, so I like that. All right, so up here underneath the front deck, again, it's just the bottom of the boat, just for extra storage stuff. Figure if you go camping or whatever, you got some storage up here, you can put stuff. That's where I mounted the battery. The way I had the boat set up before, the battery was in the back. It wasn't the best weight distribution when you're running the motor, but I think it'll do better up here. Made a little quick mount, I'll show you all in a second, but ran all my wiring through here from up front. Again, stainless steel piano hinge mounted up there. Made these quick little brackets out of some plywood, screwed them together with some old garage door punch iron I had, so no big deal. But I'll kind of show you what I got going on with the wiring. So like I said, that little Amazon switch panel was its own power supply. So I came in here before I decided to order that, I wired in this little fuse block, and I'm running all my circuits off of that, which I ended up didn't need to. So all of these wires are sitting here. They're open for whatever I want to use them for. So if I got 5 fuse blocks basically, so I can wire 5 different things in. One thing I'll probably end up using that for is I'm gonna make a set of flounder lights for the front of the boat. So that'll be something, they'll be pigtailed and I can power them off of that, so that's pretty cool. Didn't do the best job of wiring, but it's up out of the way and kind of neat and tidy. I went through and kind of spun all my wires together to try to make them look neat, but it is what it is. Trying to figure out what to do with the battery. I want to make sure it didn't move around a whole lot, so I just took some plywood and made a quick little mount, and then got a little battery hold down for it, so it's in there good and steady. It can't really go anywhere. What else? Yeah, that's about it in this. I'll show you what I did for onboard battery charger. So the way I had the boat set up before, I would take it out and I'd bring it back, and to recharge the battery after using the trolling motor all day, I'd have to drag out my battery charger and hook it up and plug it in, all that stuff. So I really wanted to do an onboard battery charger on this boat. I don't really have the money to go out and buy one of those expensive, Minn Kota or high-end brand marine grade battery chargers. So what I did is I'm trying this out to see if it works. I bought this cheap little Schumacher, whatever, 8 amp battery charger, and it's also a battery maintenance, like a battery tender. So I mounted this in here, wired it into the battery, so now when I come back after a day of fishing, I can just plug the boat in and it'll charge the battery up, and then it'll switch over automatically to a maintenance cycle. I think it'll probably help me make the battery last a little bit longer. You come home from fishing with a drained battery, you charge it, and then you unhook the charger, and the boat sits for a week, and then you take it out. I don't think that's really good for the battery. So be able to plug the boat in and just leave it on a battery tender, I think will be a pretty good idea. And we'll see if this lasts. I don't take the boat out in salt water a whole lot, and the boat will stay covered, under cover. So it should do pretty good, but we'll see. Time will tell. It's only like 30, 40 bucks, something like that at Walmart. So it's not like a high-end thing I got to really worry about. And obviously life jackets. I gotta have 2 life jackets for the kids, and then one extra one for the wife or whoever else on the boat. And then I got my throwable tucked up underneath the bench there. I think I mentioned earlier, but I ordered a Minn Kota Edge 45-pound thrust, 36-inch shaft trolling motor. It's on back order, so it'll get here when it gets here. But I did the cake pan mod that I saw on the Tiny Boat Nation YouTube channel. I actually had this one kicking around in the garage. You didn't have to go buy it, but recessed cake pan down into the floor, so the trolling motor pedal will be not completely flush, but almost. Got this cut out and ran just a piece of hose on there to keep it from chafing any wires or controls or anything. Obviously got it pigtailed. And then again, I don't think I showed y'all, but I'll roll in a couple pictures here of the courtesy lights I installed. So obviously I got one mounted up under here, 2 down in the main footwell, and then 1 in the back of the boat. So pretty happy with how those turned out. At night they light up the whole inside of the boat, and they draw, I think, like 0.2 of an amp per light, per LED. So I'm not even pulling an amp off the battery running those lights. So I don't think there'll be any issue going out, running trot lines or brush hooks and running those lights, all night long, and not have to worry about draining the battery. Last little things I did is I bought these little set of Alpena lights. You buy them at Walmart, man. They're pretty cheap, but I've been really happy with this brand. I mounted one of these on the front of my motorcycle, probably 2 years ago, and the thing is held up great. It's just as bright as it was the day I installed it. So I figure I'll give these a go too. I think they're like 20 bucks for the set or 24 bucks for the set or whatever, but I don't do a whole lot of running the boat at night, but I do go out. I like going out early in the morning, so having some lights where if you're running down the creek and just kind of light up the water in front of you be a good idea. And I'm also going to get another set of these and mount them on the back corners of the boat and then kind of point them out at a 45-degree angle and then down, so when the boat's kind of up on plane or whatever, you can kind of light away from you too, so you kind of see what you're doing. And then I mounted a new little navigation light LED. Again, doesn't draw hardly any power. When I rebuilt the transom, I also went through and rebuilt the trailer. There were some rusted pieces, so I cut those out and welded in some good solid steel. So the trailer's in really good shape. Just went through last week and put a coat of paint on it, so it's good. Pulled the bearings all apart. They look good. Repacked them, got them all set. The tires are dry rotted, so I'm gonna end up buying a new set of tires for it here eventually. But other than that, man, the boat's more or less ready for the water. As soon as my trolling motor shows up and as soon as I can get the Mercury up and running, start making some more videos of going out fishing, doing maybe some camping trips out of it and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next one.